welcome back aboard the Space Show, a space show where I, a baby novice, watch old Star Trek episodes. I forgot how the intro to this goes. I'm Ensign Rebecca Frost, joined by Admiral Kerry Jackson.
Hi there.
How is it going?
Just fine. You watch old space shows that you haven't watched before, because after the original series of Star Trek, who knows which show you're going to pick next.
Right. I was thinking about that, and I was wondering, like, do I just continue on with, like, Next Gen and just keep it within Star Trek?
You know, as badly as I want you to see Deep Space Nine because it's the best,
Oh.
I don't know. I'd like you to continue Star Trek, but at the same time, I'd like you to check out the original Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, there's Battlestar Galactica, The Expanse. There's so many space shows.
So many.
That I am to watch.
Well, we're only partway into... Have we started season 2 yet?
No, not yet. We're still
we
in season 1.
I didn't think so. Okay, well, we got time to think about
this. This episode, we're going to be talking about episodes 16 through 20, which include the Galileo 7, the Squire of Gothos, Arena, Tomorrow is Yesterday, and Court Martial.
So we got a run of like 3, maybe 4 really good episodes here.
Yeah. I'm hitting that point with this show. I'm over the fact that it's old, right? But what I do is I sit on my couch and I am transported to a time when I would watch like Mr. Bean and Red Dwarf on PBS. And it was such a comforting time that now I watch these original series episodes and I'm like, yes, Star Trek is comfort show, and Star Trek will always be comfort show.
Oh, yes, absolutely. There are times when, now this is not a knock against the show. I'd say the same thing about Mystery Science Theater 3000, which is my favorite, absolute favorite. They're such comfort shows, I can put them on and go right to sleep.
Yeah.
Mostly because I have them memorized. But
that's me with American Dad.
Yes.
Which is always so funny, unrelated, just always so funny to run into fellow American Dadites in the wild, because there's a couple of us who are just obsessed.
There's only a few of us, though.
So let's dive right on in to this episode, the Galileo 7, which... here's the thing I'm learning about Star Trek, especially after today's Strange New Worlds episode, is episodes are timeless and will be timeless forever, it seems, because the Galileo, under Spock's command, crash lands on a hostile planet. As the Enterprise races against time to find the shuttlecraft, Spock's strictly logical leadership clashes with the fear and resentment of his crew. Now, right before we started recording, Kerry and I were talking about the Titan submersible, which the Coast Guard has just confirmed imploded.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we knew that before we recorded, because dang, what a timely scenario.
Now, this episode, as bad as the creature costumes are.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a Bigfoot suit?
Yeah, as bad as the giant spears and everything are. This episode is one of my favorites. As you can see, I have...
You have the shuttle.
I built this when I was a kid. This is the model ship of the Galileo 7. This is how much of a fan of this episode and Star Trek I am. When I bought my Mini, my Countryman, the guy who sold it to me, Juan, knew I was a big Star Trek fan. And he says, we can customize these things to look like anything. I threw together a couple of things. We could put a Captain America shield on the top. We could do all kinds of things. And I said, well, I want something a little bit more subdued.
Yeah.
And I brought him this. I brought him the model. And I said, you see these stripes on the side? Let's put that along the bottom of the car. And then let's put the Galileo logo that you can see there on the hood of the car.
Does it have the Galileo on it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I've only seen the back of the car.
And I said, let's make the rear view, the windows on the side. Let's make them silver on the front, and let's do what we can. Let's put NCC 1701/7 on the back. Just not overboard. Let's just go really subtle. So the next time you see me out on the road, and you see me in my car, you know that is me, and that is the Galileo 7.
That's incredible, because I knew your Mini, like I knew it had the NCC whatever numbers on it, and I just thought, oh, he's just got a white Mini with the Star Trek numbers on it.
Look along the bottom. You'll see that red stripe with the yellow Starfleet symbol on it.
How
on the
amazing.
bottom of the car. And then the Galileo on the hood.
I had no idea. I've only seen the back of your car. That's so cool. I'm jealous.
We'll go for lunch sometime, and I'll drive.
I have a friend who has a white minivan, and same thing. He's got the NCC thing on the side of it, but like nothing else fancy. This is the first episode to feature Spock as the main character. Mm-hmm. And this episode has a lot of really good Spock and McCoy interaction.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because, and it's something I'm learning about McCoy. First of all, I'm supposed to believe this man is 39 years old. He's got some road years on him.
That's a lot of mileage. A lot of mileage. On if you'd have lived McCoy mileage, we'd be dead right now.
But I think McCoy also has a death wish, and we'll talk about it later when we get to Space Seed. But
okay.
McCoy seems to be like, he seems to welcome death with open arms and wishes it would come to him soon.
Well, his liver hurts.
His liver hurts. No, his liver doesn't hurt. All that's wrong with him, and we'll talk about this later, is he's missing his tonsils, and he broke 2 ribs once.
That's right.
The weird stuff I choose to remember. I also really, I didn't do a search for this because, again, 1,000 pages per episode of information, but I really want to see the effects before they were remastered because
I've got them all on DVD here for you.
If I have a DVD player, I'll have to borrow them. But there's just so many effects in this episode in particular that I'm like, wow, I really wish I could see this as it was.
Yeah, I was going to say, the new special effects that you're watching on Paramount Plus, it's just amazing what they've done. They just make the show look great. It didn't look that great.
I believe it.
It was bad. I'll say it. It was bad.
I want the bad. I want to see the bad effects.
I'll loan these to you then.
Yes, I'll find a DVD player. They also mentioned New Paris in this episode, which is suffering from a plague in whatever year this is. And as part of the issue with the Galileo being stuck on this planet, as they're trying to determine the best way to get off this planet and back into orbit, they need to lose like 500 pounds. And Spock is like, yeah, that's the equivalent of 3 people. And and one of them, I wish I could remember who it is, maybe Ferris, because Ferris is like, ah! And who could blame him? But he's like, so 3 of us have to stay? And Spock is like, yeah. And I'm just like, Spock, maybe. Oh my God, dang. And there's one of my favorite moments from this episode is when they're about to do the thing. They're about to, after sticks are being thrown at them from off screen, by the way. What a amazing cost saving measure.
Oh, yes. You just have a guy. There you go. And then a giant threw that. Yes.
Because you see like the back of the giant maybe once. And then as they're working on the ship, the sticks are just coming from behind rocks. And then there's a break where you can tell somebody had to like scurry and get the sticks back and then stand back up and then throw the sticks again.
Props only made 2.
Literally. But there's a moment right before they're about to do the thing where McCoy, again, waiting for the sweet release of death, tells Spock, like, hey, you ready to die? Or I can't remember the exact line, but he is specifically like, you ready to sentence us to death? Which is what I kind of hope happened on the Titan.
I think I'm trying to remember the line, but it's something along the lines of, well, it's the end of your first command, Spock, and we're all going to die, or something like that.
I tried to look up the quote, but I'm looking on IMDb. I'm not. There's the website I like to use, Memory Alpha, which is just like a fan wiki.
Yeah.
Too much.
And IMDb, not enough.
And IMDb, not enough. That is exactly it.
You got to go to a fan site, and I'm hesitant to do that because of all the viruses, so I don't.
Oh, who's worried about that in this year of our Lord 2023?
I didn't renew my virus protection.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
When the ship Enterprise finds out that they are okay. Kirk has this look on his face. William Shatner, again, what an actor. I love him. He has this look on his face of like, oh, holy shit, I'm so glad they're okay. But also keep it cool. Don't let them know that you were freaked out about this at all.
I don't need that Admiral guy to know that I'm in love. He doesn't need to know that my boyfriend is safe.
And then they get back onto the ship, and as the credits roll, they do this thing. There's so much fake laughter I don't know why they chose to end the episode this way, but literally, like, it is so much just like forced fake laughter as they go off into their next adventure.
Well, that's Shatner.
That's Shatner.
But what's great about this episode is that Spock, his gut tells him to do everything logically, make all the logical decisions, and if that means leaving 3 people behind, then so be it.
Yeah.
But he said that he would probably be one of the 3. But he follows his gut and logic the whole time. They're trying to get out of orbit. They just can't quite make it. Well, they do get out of orbit and have just enough fuel for, I think it was 1 orbit, he said. Mm-hmm. And he's like, just out of nowhere, reaches down, presses the button to release the fuel and ignite it. And it was just going against everything that Spock stands for as far as logic goes. So that was his human half kicking in and going, last resort, and do it. And everybody went, well, that was a good idea. It's too bad it won't work. And that's what Kirk sees is this, streak of ignited fuel, even though the fuel was phasers, which I thought was kind of fun.
That was kind of clever.
It was a nice storytelling gimmick because the phasers are the only thing protecting them. Well, what happens if you have to drain your phaser? You have
I didn't know there was a limit on how much phaser you could use.
Yeah, I always thought that they were, they'd last forever, I always thought.
It's that Family Guy quote from Blue Harvest of what are we paying by the laser? And then at the end, right before all the fake laughter, is when they're all bullying Spock about this particular choice because Kirk says, so you admit that was an act purely out of desperation, which is a very human emotion. And Spock goes, yeah, I guess I did. And Kirk says, you're not going to admit for the first time in your life you committed a purely human emotional act. And Spock is like, nope. And Kirk says, you're stubborn. And Spock goes, yep. And then they kiss. And then they all have a very happy fake laughter ending.
This is an episode that I recommend to people hesitantly, because of the creatures and that whole thing. But if you look at just the storytelling, it's great because the bickering, everybody turning against Spock, it is his first command. He's never desired command. It's just something that was kind of thrust upon him. But, we're human, so we think that he must be the same and want his command. And, there's just so much going on, character dynamics there. And we learn a little bit more about Spock in this. But like you said, we learn more about McCoy, I think. Yeah.
Well, and this is a good episode to recommend, too, if you have people who are like, well, I don't know about William Shatner, because he's barely there, right?
Yeah. He shows up to be yelled at by the guy who says, you've got 48 hours, Kirk, to get it, because we got to get to New Paris. And
oh, yeah, this guy. I was like, what? He is
quite an
so
outfit he had too.
Yeah, that burlap sack. And Kirk's like, I'm dedicated to my ship, and this guy's like, I'm dedicated to my mission. So figure it out. And luckily, that's what I also love about Star Trek is there's going to be a happy ending. I think at the end of most episodes, which is watching Strange New Worlds today. I was like, I know this is going to have a happy ending, but oh my God, I'm so stressed.
I got to watch it today.
Oh, you're going to cry.
Oh, good.
This next episode, The Squire of Gothos.
You didn't like this one?
No, I barely have any notes.
No, Trelane is like one of the original series. Let me show you how beloved Trelane is.
Please tell me you have a figure.
I have an action figure.
Oh my God.
I have 2, actually. I need to
Two
dig out
figures?
See, here's this one. And you see he's got his painting there next to him.
Yeah.
But I've also got a 9-inch Barbie-like Squire of Gothos, which I call my Liberace doll. But no, Trelane is one of the well remembered and beloved characters in the original series. Because he is technically the first Q that we meet.
Oh.
That comes later.
I do like Q.
In like books and stuff. But Trelane was like one of the first Q that we ever meet.
Interesting. This
and the actor is just he's so over the top. He's clearly a stage actor.
The one bit of trivia I have for this episode, because some of these episodes I've got to like really dig through to find something interesting to talk about. Mm-hmm. And so William Campbell, the man who played for Trelane, said that the role was really written for Roddy McDowall.
Ooh, I can see that. Ooh.
The reason why it was eventually decided not to use him was that it was feared that the mannerisms of the character combined with McDowall's look would make the character appear gay. Campbell was chosen because his supposedly huskier look and build would offset the foppish mannerisms of the character.
Well, sorry. Mission not accomplished.
Yeah, so the result is, let's see. However, he is not noticeably huskier than McDowall. In fact, Campbell's higher-pitched voice and greater penchant for theatricality are more likely to appear gay than McDowall's. The result is that Trelane's over-the-top manner is, possibly deliberately, somewhat camp. I love using camp as a description for anything.
Very much. I would call that performance very much camp.
Yeah, this I have, in order to remind me what the episodes are about, I always have, this one's the blank episode. So like the Galileo 7 is the Timely Titan episode.
Yes.
The Squire of Gothos I have is the Murder Mystery Escape Room episode, because
definitely escape room. Yeah.
they get locked in and I'm like, are they in an escape room? I love escape rooms. Let's do this. I could get us out of there in no time.
It's Trelane is and William Campbell, the actor, he'll be back as another character.
Oh, will he?
Down the road. Oh, he's I'll just spoil it for you. He shows up as a Klingon later.
Oh,
and he's a good Klingon, and then he takes that character and plays that same character on Deep Space Nine later.
Oh,
3 of the classic series Klingons that you're going to meet: Kang, Kodos, and Koloth.
Those are not the Simpsons aliens?
That's where the Simpsons took their names from.
Okay.
But the three will show up on a glorious Deep Space Nine episode because, Jadzia's former host used to hang out with Klingons and their old friends, Curzon. And, so the first time, he says, Curzon, my old friend, and gives Dax a big hug. And she goes, I'm Jadzia now. And he goes, Jadzia, my new old friend. And it's just such a beautiful. I know, it's just such a beautiful moment. Even if a Klingon can handle it, certainly some of you rednecks can handle it. Anyway.
So Trelane space kidnaps. I don't know how they do it. What's so funny is this is not the first time Kirk has mysteriously vanished off the bridge, and he vanishes, and you hear a lets out this scream of like, I have never seen this before.
Bless you, Nichelle Nichols.
God bless her. But there's a moment where the scouting crew, I guess, goes down, and Kirk and Sulu are frozen like statues and visibly moving and blinking. I was dying. There's also a moment in this episode where they're around the table. I think it's this episode. Yes, it is. But the camera is like visibly shaking, like somebody bumped into it or something.
There's a zoom shot and they bump into something and it just kind of.
Yeah, and the camera is like shaking.
But they use the take. They use it anyway.
One of my notes is Starfleet is the best of the best, but this guy gets caught in the mirror trying to sneak up on Trelane to stun him. Mm-hmm. And
I'll sneak up. I'll destroy his mirror. I think that's the source of his power.
I'll be sneaky. I'm Starfleet, the best of the best, visibly sneaking up with no...
Yeah, and Trelane sees him right away and goes, bah, and makes him freeze and takes his gun. Oh, what a fabulous
weapon.
And
he does it twice. This guy, I think this guy likes being froze. I think he's asking for it.
It's a fun sensation.
Another theme that I have decided is one of the core themes of the show is women, because Trelane sees women and is like, what is this?
The fairer sex,
Oh, Nubian queen.
Yes, my Nubian girls. Oh, yeah. Clearly, and as they point out in the show, he clearly has been watching the planet. The explanation being that the tapes or whatever it is that he's watching, the visuals that he's seeing, take a long time to travel through space. And so he's been
observing Earth, but from his position from where Earth is 900 light years away. And so he's seeing Earth as it was 900 years ago, which I thought was a very clever explanation for the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But, gross.
And he gets to change costumes. He gets to wear judge's robes. Cue. He loses his temper, and then we find out at the end that he's actually a child. I know you hate children.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it's because I just don't like kids, or if this twist of the episode. He was just acting so child. He was. I mean, that's what he is. He's a child.
And at the end, I would.
Yeah, and his gas parents or dimensional being parents.
Well, they might be cues. They might be something. But the voice of the dad parent is James Doohan,
and
that's Scotty.
Oh.
Yeah. James Doohan could do all kinds of voices and accents and all of that stuff. That was his deep voice announcer. He does it a couple of times throughout the series. You'll hear it.
Okay. Spock has a line in this episode that I super love, where Trelane is like, "What's your deal? Why don't you like me?" And Spock says, "I object to you. I object to intellect without discipline. I object to power without constructive purpose." What a line.
Amen.
So
to today's GOP right away.
Again, everything is so timely. And to close out this episode, when Kirk is talking about flirting, and he tells Spock about pranks, and how one of the pranks in the future is dipping hair in inkwells.
Oh, yeah, that was brought up. Yeah.
Again,
dipping little girl's hair in inkwells.
The future stops at 1960.
Again, yes.
Just incredible stuff. Now, let's move on to probably one of the cornerstone episodes, Arena.
Oh.
For bringing hostility into their solar system, a superior alien race brings Captain Kirk into mortal combat against the reptilian captain of an alien ship he was pursuing.
Now, for the YouTube, again, this is what we had originally for the
his
Gorn.
Slutty little outfit.
Him and his hot, nightclub Studio
his
54
jumper
outfit.
It's giving me real big, Kurt Russell in Overboard, where he does that thing with his tank top.
Now, this is a recreation. This isn't an original Mego figure because they sculpt the head to look like the Gorn mask. It was originally just the lizard figure from the Spider-Man collection. That's what this was. Really? And they didn't even have a TV show accurate outfit on him. They had a completely different one. But so this was a bad figure for the time. This one, however, we got a little bit later, and it's a much better Gorn figure.
God, I just love the outfit. That's all I can focus on. And the Gorn doesn't even show up for halfway through the episode. The notes I have for this episode are "Oh no, actual battle" and "Oh no, actual battle," because I don't think we've really seen battle.
Well, at the beginning of this episode, it's in the first 10, 15 minutes where they beam down to the
Kestis 3.
Kestis 3, and it's been destroyed. Mm-hmm. They find out they've been tricked. They go down to Kestis 3, and it's been destroyed. And you hear these
Oh my God, that was so aggravating
Well,
for like 20 minutes.
the whistles are aggravating. But one of those explosions, you see Shatner get real close to it. Mm-hmm. And he insisted on doing his own stunts.
That's one of my notes is, wow, Kirk's doing a lot of stunts in this episode.
He's that arrogant that he insisted on doing his own stunts. But that explosion is what he blames for his tinnitus.
That's the piece of trivia I have is
Yes.
Shatner currently suffers from tinnitus due to an improperly timed special effects explosion. Both Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley reportedly suffered from tinnitus as well during the remainder of their lives.
Yeah, they both, because all three of them are in that scene, and there's that going off.
Yeah, I love that. They beam down, and Kirk's like, yeah, Kestis 3's been destroyed, and hangs up. Like, meh, no big deal.
This is an important cornerstone for little Kerry. This episode, and it's called back again. This is once we finish this, I'm going to loan you another movie called Free Enterprise, which is basically the story of my young life. It's like the filmmakers followed me around and split my personality into two characters.
Two Kerrys?
There was Horn Dog Kerry, and then there was Geek Kerry.
Never the two shall mix.
Exactly. And these two characters, but there's a part where the kid, and this happened to me, he's wearing his Starfleet uniform to school, which I did.
Oh, no. Are you okay? Did you get bullied?
You get beat up for it. And it happens in this movie. The kid's getting the crap kicked out of him by this bully, and he gets knocked out. In his dream sequence, William Shatner appears. And this is, I need your help. This is, no, my boy. You should wear something different. Think earth tones. That shirt looks terrible on you. He goes, I'm in the middle of a fight. I need your help. He says, oh, that was a TV show. I had stunt doubles and all of that stuff, except for my love scenes. I did my own love scenes. He says, but what about in Arena when Kirk fought the Gorn? He goes, that was a TV show. Why is this kid beating you up anyway? So you really don't want to know. He says, I do want to know. Tell me. He said that Han Solo is cooler than Captain Kirk. And here's the one YouTube F that we get. Shatner looks at him and goes, kick the little fucker's ass.
What year is this movie from?
90s sometime.
Okay.
It was a small independent film. It maybe we'll show it at Saturday matinee one of these times, but it's one of my, like I said, it's the story of young Kerry, complete with toy runs and drinking and all that. I had lines in this movie. I'm watching this, and I'm like, yes, my ex-girlfriend said that to me.
Interesting. A universal experience.
5 times in that movie. Yeah, my girlfriend said that to me at the time.
Oh, no.
How can you remember the name of every episode of that effing TV show, but you can't remember my birthday? Things like that.
Maybe if your birthday was more interesting.
Or more interesting.
So this is the Gorn.
Yes.
Our first introduction to the Gorn, which is really funny because I know I've talked about it a lot, but my intro to Star Trek has been Strange New Worlds, and La'an's whole deal is being rescued from a Gorn attack, and now I see this
where
man in a lizard suit, and I'm like, okay.
And in the original one, I don't think that they used the computer to get rid of it. In the original bad effects, you can see the zipper on the back of this costume.
Oh, God. Good Lord. Really fun. This is a very funny episode as well, because at one point, Kirk has his personal log or whatever, and the Gorn, for whatever reason, is able to hack into it and listen to him. That
was all by design by the Metrons.
Oh, these Metrons, who, first of all, their logic is sound, in my opinion. I can understand what they're doing. They've trapped these two apparently violent ships and are like, oh, no, not in our space. You guys are going to go on this planet we've made for you with all of these resources native to your planet so you can build a weapon. And Kirk builds gunpowder, which I would have died immediately, honestly. But at one point, Kirk, he's doing what I do in video games, which is just run away a lot. And the Gorn talks to him through his communicator and is like, "Can you stop?
Kirk.
I am so tired."
Captain Kirk.
I tire of this chase. Like literally just telling Kirk, "Can you stop? Because I'm getting tired."
if you stop running, I promise I'll make it painless. I'm tired. It's hard to run in this costume.
It is 1,000 degrees. Because this is the same guy who was in the White Rabbit outfit from Shore Leave.
Mm-hmm.
Then
this is one of these. This is in the top 10 best episodes. Just about any list you'll find on the internet. Mm-hmm. This one's a good one. And what this one did for me was that I got beat up for wearing my Starfleet uniform to school all the time. But what this one taught me is that I'm not going to beat them physically. I'm just outmatched. Period. Mm-hmm. I got to be smarter than them. And that's what I learned from this episode.
Yeah.
Yes. Got to be smarter than that.
Got to have the recipe for gunpowder in your back pocket at all times.
Well, and what I love is how the entire crew is up there like they're watching an episode of Star Trek.
Yeah. Well, and the Metrons are like, "Here, your guy's losing, so we'll put it up on the screen for you, and you can watch." It's just insane. I don't even remember how this episode. Oh, this episode ends with Kirk showing mercy.
Kirk shoots him with the cannon that he made using gunpowder, and there's diamonds. And bamboo. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he shoots a diamond into the, Gorn's head or body or somewhere. I don't know. We don't ever see blood. It knocks him down. And then he gets the Gorn's, it's like a knife, but it was a rock, a sharp rock.
Yeah.
And he thinks about, do I do it on his neck? How do I, maybe in his eye? I don't know where to. And then he stops and he looks at it and he goes, No, I won't kill you. He throws the knife away. Maybe you felt like you had to protect your people. I don't know. Which
is funny because they're talking about that on the ship too, where they're like, "Hey, we were probably in the wrong here." And Kirk, I like that Kirk also pieces that together.
And then he yells at the sky, "No, I won't kill him!" And that's when the Metron shows up, who's dressed like
the Angel Moroni,
late for a toga party. Or something. And he says, your species shows promise. All right, okay. We'll contact you in about 1 million years when you've evolved.
Dios mío. And that's okay.
All right.
You listen to the podcast, The Pod Directive, right? Yes. So their very first episode, they had Ben Stiller on. And Ben Stiller has the Gorn head in his collection because he's just such a huge Star Trek fan. I think that's so fascinating.
As a matter of fact, the name of his production company, Red Hour, is going to be referenced in an upcoming episode.
I have that in my notes.
Yes, you do.
But the next episode, Tomorrow is Yesterday. The Enterprise is thrown back in time to 1960s Earth. I got to tell you, I loved this episode.
You did?
I did. I loved it.
This is the one I call the stock footage episode, but
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Stock footage of a jet. Let's use it.
Yeah. I love this episode because Spock knows better than to mess with time. They are very much like kill the witnesses, we cannot be known. They give him, so they beam up so they're trying to escape from like a black hole, right? And so they've like got all their warp 8. This
is the first time that they've time traveled.
You are correct. And they get slingshotted to Earth in the 60s, and this Air Force pilot sees them, and they're like, "Oh no!" and beam him aboard. And he's
when
like,
they do that because of the power of the tractor beam, it destroys his plane.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, well, okay.
Whoopsies. And they're like, "Oh, sorry, dog. Like, we can't. Sorry, man." They give him a Starfleet uniform, and he looks just like everybody else. I can't tell him apart.
Which was a mistake.
And also, why? There's this weird, not even a B plot, where the computer is broken and keeps calling Kirk dear. And this guy is like, "Are you telling me that computers in the future are horny?" And Kirk's like, no. This is unusual. I don't know what to tell you.
His explanation is that we just had maintenance done, and it was done on a planet of nothing but women. And the women programmed the computer this way. and calling him dear and all that.
Dios mío.
I just want that episode of Kirk on a Planet of Women, but that's another story.
No, not allowed.
No.
That wouldn't, not allowed. When they're trying to decide what to do with this guy, John Christopher, they're looking through the history books or whatever and come up with no relevant contribution by John Christopher. What a burn! Can you imagine here? People come to visit you from the future and they say, oh, no. When later they determine that his son does the first manned mission to Saturn or something.
Yeah, and it's very informative in the creation of Starfleet or the space program at the time, which leads to Starfleet. But it's funny that they didn't run the whole timeline, because any good Mormon would have done that. Not just it's your sons and your sons' sons and all of that. It's a fun little episode because it plays with, for the time, UFOs were a big thing for the time, and that's kind of the plot of this show, is that it's a UFO. I got a good look at it. Are you little spaceman? And then Spock shows up and goes, yes. It's just it's a fun little episode, and I love it when Kirk gets captured.
Oh my God!
By these these Air Force generals, and they're questioning him, and
he's like, "I'm not lying to you. I'm just telling you truths that you are not prepared to handle yet." A lot of karate chopping and wrestling moves in this episode, and Kirk is sassy, and I like it when Kirk is sassy. I think I like it when anybody is sassy, but when Kirk is sassy, I quite enjoyed it.
But they managed to go back in time just fast enough so right when the ship gets destroyed, they manage to not only beam him back onto the ship, but pull away just in time so that they don't destroy his airplane. And he has no memory of anything that's happened.
The science at the end of this episode, I could not grasp. Their whole explanation for how they were going back to the future and also getting him back. My little doy girl brain, I just kind of turned it off and was like, okay, it worked out. Yay.
Well, I would say you watch it again, because they do try to explain it there at the end, because they're explaining it to him,
Sure. But he's a man. He can probably understand it.
He's essentially a chimp from this time, so we need to explain it to him.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Okay, first of all, living in the year 22 whatever, and then getting stuck in 1960s Earth. How primitive. Just rocks for tools, essentially.
When they said, we can't send you back, I would have been fine. Okay.
That's fine. I'm one of those people who, if I was given the gift of immortality, I would take it in a heartbeat. And so if I was suddenly transported to the Starship Enterprise with the option to go to the future, take me. I will go. Yeah. Sorry, Earth and everyone I love here, but I'm not passing up this opportunity.
I know I have a wife and kid, but I'll go.
Nah. This episode, Kirk says that the first moonshot was in the late 1960s. This was the first prediction of the correct decade of this accomplishment in a major science fiction work. Previous motion pictures and television series put the first lunar mission sometime in the 1970s at the earliest. So, USA, USA, USA. And then the last episode of this episode that we're going to talk about, Court Martial. Kirk draws a court martial in the negligent death of a crewman. This episode I also really enjoyed. I'm learning that I like the court-martial episodes of Star Trek.
You like the courtroom dramas, huh?
Yeah, I didn't think I would. Which I can't wait for you to watch Strange New Worlds today. I
know, I'm gonna.
It's a courtroom episode, and they got a lady lawyer, and she is so scary and intimidating. So Kirk accidentally gets a guy killed. Or does he? This whole episode is finding out, should he be held responsible for this man's death? And, he's on whatever star base it is, and people are giving him the stink eye because they're like, you killed my friend. And he was like, he was my crewman. You think I feel good about this too?
It was an accident. Oh,
it was an accident. And this woman is also a blonde woman, of course. So obviously one of Kirk's old love interests.
Well, yes, but she's your first blonde woman with a job, right?
I guess that's true. I guess I didn't think about it that way. She's a lawyer.
She's a lawyer. And an old flame of Kirk's.
And Kirk leaves the room, the mess hall, essentially. And this lady, she's like looking after him. And McCoy comes up and he's like, yeah, if you're wondering, that was Captain Kirk. And she's like, oh, yeah, he's an old friend of mine. And McCoy says,
of course he is.
McCoy says, all my old friends look like doctors. All of his look like you. Kirk appears pretty cavalier about this the whole time. I don't know if that's just like arrogance.
No, it's because he was convinced that he didn't do the wrong thing. He didn't make the mistake. He in his mind it was, I waited for the proper time and then I hit the button and I did my thing right.
Yeah, and they do this thing where they pull up the footage of the incident in question and enhance, which, what a technology to have. And it turns out Kirk did push the other button that he wasn't supposed to. And so I'm like, oh shit, did Kirk kill this guy? What are they going to do? And Kirk hires the blah, blah, blah of the original series.
That character is great.
Apparently he couldn't remember any of his lines, and so a lot of his takes or a lot of his dialogue is spliced together from different takes.
Well, what was interesting was that at the end, the courtroom drama, they always we're going to explain the crime and how it happened and who did it really and all of that, like any good Columbo episode. He's not there.
No.
Your lawyer is not there.
Your lawyer's not there, and he only relies on books, which is insane. Again, like I said, he's the blah, blah, blah of the original series.
Well, if I read it correctly, the actor just decided he didn't want to finish or something like that. And so they had to write around him, as I recall. And that's why he's not there. And that's why he doesn't show up again. It's
my God.
This is very important for my client. I gotta go.
I got
a
other
traffic ticket that we got.
And this man came on the recommendation of the blonde lawyer lady. I think you set him up to fail. But then there's a moment where they're on the ship and they're doing something with heartbeats. I'm not gonna lie to you, I missed a lot of this part because my mother-in-law called and was asking me 1,000 questions about wasp traps.
Okay, I'll walk you through it then. Yeah. They beam everybody off the ship except for the people on the bridge. They said, we can maintain orbit for just a little bit longer, but just long enough to get this figured out. Dr. McCoy has a device that looks an awful lot like a salt shaker. And this device is plugged into the computer.
You have it?
No, this is McCoy's.
Oh, okay.
This is his,
his sensor thing.
But so this device is plugged into the computer, and what it'll do is it'll read your heartbeat, your individual heartbeat, and then remove it from the sound. So they turn on the sound, and it's and says, this is the heartbeat of everybody that's on this ship. Everyone else is left. It's just the people in this room. So he turns off the heartbeat, and the sounds start to go quieter and quieter, and then there's 4 heartbeats, and McCoy keeps going, 3 heartbeats, 2 heartbeats. That's everybody on the bridge. Well, there's still a heartbeat. And so they go, oh. The killer is still on the ship. As a matter of fact, he's in engineering right now.
And this man faked his death because he's petty?
He's petty.
What a move.
He feels like that it's Kirk's fault that he never got, a rank advancement or position advancement or anything. He blames Kirk for everything.
Not very Starfleet of him.
No. Well, we're humans, so...
Too full of emotions.
But anyway, so Kirk is cleared, and we never see his lawyer again. But
the only bit of trivia I have for this episode, this marks the only appearance of the female Starfleet dress uniform during the original series, because the lady lawyer wears, her, Which again, I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep talking about Strange New Worlds, but in this court episode of this week's Strange New Worlds, I think this is the first court room episode of Strange New Worlds too. So it was
Yeah.
fun to see everyone's outfits.
I can't wait to see them now.
Well, that does it for this episode. Thank you, Kerry, for joining me once again. Tune in next time. We will be discussing episodes 21 through 25. We continue going where no man has gone before, but a lot of people have gone before. Okay, thanks.
Live long and prosper.
Left hand.